Boo! Did I scare you? Hi, my name is Jay, and today I decided to celebrate the frightening aura in the air by doing something crazy. Something sinister. 4 years ago, I drew my OCs in Halloween costumes, and I wanted to do it again. So come with me as we celebrate this spooky season and give my characters some much needed Halloween spirit. Alright, we're starting off our chilling celebration with Showya. Just to feed his little fan club, I'm letting him go first. Before we start, if you're not aware, the characters we're going to be throwing into costumes today are all my OCs. I have a comic called Dying Rain in the works and have a little ongoing series here on the channel where I go in depth on their designs and story. I'm going to be talking like you know my characters to some extent, so if you'd like the context, those videos are up. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into the first eerie ensemble of this video. The last time I drew the trio in Halloween costumes was actually 4 whole years ago, and back then I dressed Showya up as Edward Scissorhands, which really suited him at the time, but for this year I actually went for another supernatural classic of a character, Coraline Jones. Before starting this video, I looked for inspiration in what everyone was dressing up as this year, and I saw a couple Coraline costumes and was immediately flashbanged with a vision of Showya in the iconic raincoat. Coraline as a character has such a cool design and silhouette, but on top of everything I could do design-wise, the film has also just been my favorite movie since I was old enough to know what the concept of a movie was. The first time I ever saw it, it was like the whole movie crawled into my brain. Picture the opening scene from Baldur's Gate 3, that was me, and it has not left. I remember forcing my friends to watch it every year in elementary school for my birthday, not to mention my mom, who was forced to love the movie as much as me because I never wanted to watch anything else. I think the movie and story was so perfectly made, and it's just so pretty. I was like a big Tim Burton and like a movie kid and adult. I don't know who I'm kidding. I used to work at an AMC, the birthplace of my spirit guide if you weren't aware, Nicole Kidman. But when I worked there, we were all able to put our favorite movies onto our name tags, and for the entire 3-year duration of my time there, I had Coraline on my name tag. It goes as far as me having a replica Coraline doll in my room, which if my house ever catches on fire, I would be sprinting inside for it. I'd be doing recon. Bramble in one hand, Coraline memorabilia in the other, alright? I wanted to do something different this year as far as costumes. The last time I did this, it was fun, but I could have definitely been more creative with what I put my characters in. So this year, I chose a couple of cooler options like this. As far as design, I had a little fun when imagining Showya and Coraline's iconic outfit. I went with the classic yellow raincoat that she wears because it's the most clear image I have of Coraline, honestly. When I think of her, this outfit comes to mind. On top of this, Showya also got the black newsboy-inspired cap that she wears for the later acts of the movie. In Showya's normal design, he wears a little beanie, so I got super lucky that I could keep that part of his silhouette while staying true to the costume. He also got the basic Coraline accessories like the little knit bag she takes with her to the other world and those gloves Coraline begs her mom up and down for in the movie. I really wanted to add them to Showya's costume. The gloves are actually a really important symbol in the movie, so they obviously fit with the costume well, but on a more artistic note, I wanted to cover his hands because Showya actually has very specific tattoos there, and I didn't want it to look like a part of the costume or distract from it, and the gloves are just too cute. I needed to draw them. His hand gave me some trouble, actually. I wanted it to kind of resemble the creepy hand that Miss Spink sees in the teacup Coraline drinks from, so it's all curved and spindly-like, and he's holding the little stone that gets formed from the candy. In the movie, it helps Coraline find the lost ghost's eyes in the other world. It's actually called an adder stone, which I did not know. It comes from European folklore, and like the movie, it can help with lost things or be used to ward off evil. If you look through it, you're supposed to be able to see through the tricks of witches and fairies. It was cool to learn about. Shading the jacket was also really fun. I had no idea how to make something look like a shiny latex, and I definitely could have pushed it farther, but it was really fun to at least attempt a texture I don't normally think of drawing. On top of all this, Showya normally has some bleached raccoon tails in his hair, but to add sort of a finishing detail for his costume, I changed it to blue to match Coraline's. I'ma probably cornered him with some semi-perm dye. I thought it was a cute extra addition. Besides just having fun and drawing my characters dressed up, I wanted to make sure the costumes made sense and suited them all. As far as Showya, I thought Coraline would be a good choice for a few reasons. They both obviously have that main character aspect going for them, but as characters, they have some things in common. They're both stubborn and resourceful. I think Coraline suits Showya as a whole. The movie has a darker theme that fits Showya's design and inspiration, not to mention all the black cat symbolism in the movie that ties with Showya really well. While we're on the topics of costumes and Halloween, I have a little bit of a confession. I am actually not the biggest fan of Halloween when it comes to going out and celebrating, okay? Fall is probably my least favorite season because the weather change in my state is so jarring for my brain, but doing things like this in the comfort of my home is very fun. I did actually go out this year though. I was peeled out of my cave and taken to a party by my friends. And this year I dressed up as Freddy Krueger, which I was literally giving Christian Girl Autumn. All I needed was an orange tree to pose in front of and a pumpkin spice latte to pretend to drink. Literally Tumblr Freddy Krueger. I had so much fun with this. I think the costume turned out so cute, and doing this made me so excited to finish the others. The next character I threw into costume for this ominous occasion is our stoic narrator and the much needed voice of reason in my comic, Ima. Ominous occasion. Yeah, I'm gonna run out of descriptive words soon. I'm trying to keep a theme. The last time I did this, Ima ended up being a witch, which was so... I don't want to say boring, but it was boring. It also did not suit Ima at all, but I was like freshly 15 when I drew it, so can't hate on it too much. I had way more fun this year though, and decided she'd be dressing up as the iconic, the beloved Alice Angel from Bendy and the Ink Machine. Does this make the Bendy games canon in my comics universe? Who's to say? Bendy and the Ink Machine is a classic horror game based on that 1930s rubber hose cartoon style. I think we're all familiar, honestly. I love this game. I remember when it came out, I watched countless playthroughs, videos explaining lore, not to mention all the parody songs that were released. And of course I ate those up. Not that it's gonna shock anyone, but I was a heavy Nightcore kid in elementary school. And if you looked past the countless sped up versions of Zara Larsson's Never Forget You, you'd find so many game parody songs. Lots of FNAF, lots of Bendy, and a lot of The Offspring. For some reason, 11-year-old me knew ball. I think the story of the game is so interesting. I always thought it was so unique when I first got into it, but like, obviously. I think Bendy is just one of those games that is so ingrained to most 2010 kids' childhoods at this point. I actually think I have like early 2018 Boris fan art sitting somewhere. And just for you, I will track it down and show the class for this video. Getting more into the design choices for my character and the costume, I obviously had to put Ima in the classic Alice Angel outfit. Alice has a lot of different versions to choose from, but I went with the staple old cartoon look. I chose this one because it's the first thing I picture when I think of Alice. All of her designs would have been great, but this version was just too iconic for me to pass up. So I put Ima in the sleek black, I guess flapper inspired dress that Alice wears, as long as long elbow length arm sleeves and those styled gloves that all the Bendy characters have. And I couldn't forget Alice's little horns and halo. I made it look like it was a headband on Ima to push the idea that these were costumes even more. I also gave Ima a very Bendy inspired wrench. I wanted her to have a prop like Showya had in his costume, but a wrench also just makes a lot of sense for her and the costume, but two birds with one stone. With a dress like the one Alice wears, I also tried to make Ima's build a little more obvious. Her upper body strength is actually kind of wild. I did clean up all of the anatomy off screen, so it's not in the speed paint, mainly because it takes me forever and it's boring, but I also knew I wouldn't be able to talk for that long if I didn't cut some footage. If I didn't cut the footage, this video would have easily been an hour long. I added and tweaked some of the things to make Ima look a little more Miss Angel adjacent. I gave her some darker eyeshadow and the classic black lip. Ima doesn't normally get drawn with makeup on, so it was a little fun to see. I also made it look like Ima's roots were extra grown out. Alice's hair is all black, but I couldn't not give Ima her pink hair, so I just made it look like she ignored a root touch-up for a couple of extra months, just so I could keep the image of darker hair. You can normally see her roots anyway, so I don't think it was out of the question in terms of what I could have added. I mentioned earlier that this year I wanted to choose costumes that suited my characters really well, and I chose Alice for Ima for a bunch of reasons actually. If the name wasn't a dead giveaway, Bendy and the Ink Machine is full of machines. And Ima is a character who has a bunch of steampunk inspiration in her design and story, a time period aesthetic famous for fantasy inventions, and Ima even builds things herself, so I think Alice Angel was a good pick for a character who already has so much to do with machinery anyway. Other than this, I actually think a character like Alice is actually very similar to Ima, not entirely based on personality or traits, but definitely in what their roles are in their respective stories. Alice Angel is a character whose role is played out in the background of things a lot. She's sort of this manipulative control panel type of character, and Ima is actually very similar to this. In Dying Rain, she uses her ability from the shadows. No one can ever really get a glimpse of her, and she controls all of her machines without being at the forefront, and I think these two things just reminded me of each other vaguely. I also just love Alice Angel, and was excited when I got the idea to put Ima in this costume. I immediately thought it would be perfect for her. In reality, I think Ima would hate the idea of dressing up for Halloween. I don't imagine she'd be caught dead having any sort of holiday spirit, but in this case she didn't get a choice. But if she were to dress up, I definitely think it'd be something simple and sleek just like this, so at least it's not entirely out of character. I had a really fun time revisiting old memories about Bendy and the games, and getting to draw my character in costume. I think it turned out so cute despite Ima's very blank expression. Alright, last but not least, we had one last character who needed a Halloween costume. Or let's go with ghoulish garb. I give up. It's Leakai's costume. Leakai, my light, my flesh and blood, my everything. A character who definitely doesn't get special treatment from me or my drawing tablet ever. Leakai is the last OC in my comics trio, our staple boy failure werewolf. Last time, he ended up just being Ghostface from Scream. which was actually just me throwing him in a hoodie with a mask on the side. But this year I switched it up and actually chose Clark Kent, aka Superman. This whole idea obviously came from the countless pictures I get bombarded with every Halloween of people dressing up as Clark with the Superman shirt poking through the white button up, you know? It's a whole look. I'm sure you've seen it. I feel like this costume is always hard to miss because they come out in hordes every year. Kind of like that one Slim Shady performance. I will say though, my reasoning for giving Leakai this costume didn't stem from me actually enjoying DC movies or any Superman media like the other two costumes in this video, so I don't have any long rants about my love for the character the costume is based on this time. I'm not big on superheroes personally, but I do think the costume is really cute, and if any of my characters were to dress up as a comic hero, it would definitely be Leakai. As far as design, I had so much fun with this actually. I obviously had to put him in the basics for this costume. I think we all know what they are. It's the same all across the board as far as our options here. He got the typical corporate Clark Kent. The slacks, the tie sort of messily thrown to the side, and a white button up open just enough to reveal the Superman suit underneath. Like Clark is hurriedly rushing out of the reporter's office. At least I think that's the whole idea. Once again, I've never seen it. You can also see Leakai's dog tags poking out from under the shirt. Not even Halloween is getting those things off of him, unfortunately. I also added the glasses sort of falling off Leakai's face to give off the flustered Clark Kent aura, which is honestly just Leakai's aura at the end of the day. Inside me there are two wolves, and they're both endearing losers. Other than the basic outline of the costume, I had a lot of fun when picturing it on a character like Leakai and what that might look like. I tried to make Leakai seem a little embarrassed or frazzled, not only because it suited the idea I had, but I think Leakai would be shy wearing this typical pretty boy costume. I had 3 characters and a story to tell, which is now when I mention the lipstick stains on his face that he's probably reeling over, which suspiciously matches the colors on Showya and Aima's lips. I imagine Leakai was looking just a little too endearing. The poor guy was attacked viciously.
Sometimes I gotta beat the ladies off with a stick. Back, woman! Back, I said!
Circling back to why I even chose this costume for Leakai this year, I had multiple reasons. One, with everything I can assume about a character like Clark Kent, I think it matches Leakai's personality. I could throw a scary costume onto him and call it a day, or just give him a mask like I did last time, but I think for a character as morally white and good-natured as Leakai, choosing lighter themed costumes or characters that match that idea was a way better choice. Leakai would not be touching fake blood. He's not even looking at it. On top of all that, I honestly just think a costume like this is something Leakai would genuinely choose. Something simple and kind of basic that didn't take too much effort or feel heavy on his body. He's practicality over fashion to his core. Am I taking this all way too literally and thinking way too deeply about my character's made-up Halloween costumes? No, I'm not. This is perfectly in character for me, I'm afraid. I think Leakai turned out the best. I was really excited to do this one. Not because of any personal biases, obviously. I think he turned out looking so cute, and I really do think it suits him pretty well. Also, Leakai being so flustered next to Aima and Showya, who are completely stone-faced, is just so canon. And with that, I added some final touches, making this the finished Halloween piece for this year. I think I definitely upgraded, but kept the same vibe as the last time I drew them, and for all the viewers that watched the Twitch stream, here you go. Hi, my name is Jay, and I made the mistake of monologuing about baby giraffes on stream with the promise of a cameo. This was so much fun. I'm happy I got to do a silly themed video like this to celebrate with you guys. I hope you all have a very safe, very fun Halloween, and if you don't celebrate, I hope it is an amazing October 31st to you. Thank you so much for watching if you did, and let me know what you're being for Halloween this year. I'm very curious. Stay ghoulish this season, and I will see you all next time. Bye! Drink some water.